Absolutely nothing beats windshield time. Welcome back to Dan the Road Trip Guy, a podcast where we have candid conversations about life lessons learned on the road. I'm your host, Bimmer enthusiast and road trip extraordinaire, Dan Neal. And now, on to the show. This morning, I'm taking a virtual little road trip around Cincinnati. We're actually both in Cincinnati, my guest and I, and I've known my guest for probably close to 20 years. Although we haven't seen each other in years, I am just excited to catch up with her. She's been in the medical healthcare sales field way back. Then she got into leadership with Ken Blanchard. And now she's a book author, writing children's books, and I think teaching them about leadership. So we'll see what she has to say about that. But my guest today is Danise DiStasi, and I'm just excited to have her here. Welcome to the show, Danise.
Thanks, Dan. That was a great recap. So thank you. Yes, I'm excited to be here too. Thank you for inviting me.
I always start my show with take a couple of minutes and just tell my listeners, who is Danise DiStasi?
Well, one of my greatest roles or titles, if you want to call it that, is Nonna. And I'm Nonna to two beautiful girls. Nonna is Italian for grandma. And they are actually my co-authors on my books and my chief ideation officer and my chief brand officer. And trust me, they have lots of ideas. But I love that role. You gave a great recap. I was in medical sales for many years, sold nuclear medicine equipment, which is crazy when I think about it now. Then I went to work with Ken Blanchard and then started doing some leadership consulting and working in that area. Adopted a crazy little dog who actually taught me a lot about leadership and love. And I started writing some lessons I was learning, and it evolved into writing some children's books about love, being kind and patient, hopeful and trusting. And so it's been a great ride. I am looking forward to the next however many years I'm here on this earth to present a message about love.
That's exciting. And I believe dog's name is Louie?
That is Louie. And our children's books are Louie's Little Legs and The Magic of Kindness, Magic of Patience, and the new one that just came out, which is The Power of Hope.
I'm excited to learn a little bit more about that. But
yeah.
This is Dan, the road trip guy. My first question to people is always, what was your first car?
Oh, my brother and I were just talking about this the other day. He asked me, what was that car that you got? I said, it was a red convertible Fiat. And I mean, I'm sure I was only about 16 or 17 and my dad negotiated. Now, my dad was a Cincinnati cop. So the thought of him letting his 16-year-old daughter drive around in a red convertible Fiat still blows my mind today. That car was so much fun, but it was also so much trouble.
And was that a new car?
No, it was a used car.
Used car.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted all the cops to keep an eye out for you. So he's like, just keep an eye out for this red Fiat traveling around.
Yeah, he had ways of doing that, believe me, by license plates, by all sorts of things. But the Fiat it was so much fun. I joke with my granddaughters today. I said it was kind of like a little Flintstone car. Like I should have had my feet out of the bottom of the car, just, running along with it. But it was a lot of fun. But man, many a times my dad would come and pick me up, on the side of the road because it broke down.
Yeah. How long did you keep that car? Do you remember?
It was probably a couple of years, and then got an Opel Cadet GT from, I think my brother had that one, and I bought it from him used. And that one was amazing because I had it a couple of years, and then my sister-in-law's brothers bought it, and they had it for years. And it's probably still driving around somewhere because it just never died.
Yeah, those were cool cars. You had two really cool cars in your younger years. That's really neat. What are you driving today?
I am driving a Toyota Camry.
Okay, well, okay. We'll skip that and move on.
Yeah.
Did you grow up, I don't remember how big your family, like brothers and sisters, growing up?
I have a big Italian family. We always describe ourselves as 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls. Of course, my mom and dad came from very large families, so lots of cousins, lots of people in and out of our house, just a lot of activity. My brothers and sisters and I are still very, very close and, still really enjoy getting together.
Yeah. That's neat. So,
Yeah.
as a family growing up, did you take road trips?
Dan, we talk about this all the time because there are so many fun memories. So my dad, like I said, was a police officer. He would take the month of June as much time as he could. He fixed up, and this was a long time ago before conversion vans were ever considered. He fixed up a really neat van, had air conditioning put into it, and we would hit the trail. We would go on trips to California because we had friends and cousins out there,
Oh, wow.
and 6 kids in the car and a great big area kind of in the back set up so two of us could take naps if we needed to, and or just sit back there and play games and just read or whatever we wanted to. And we would get up really early in the morning, and my mom and dad put us in the van, and we would stop around 2 or 3 in the afternoon and then swim and have a fun dinner and then go to bed early and get up early. It was the best time ever. And we several times we took trips on Route 66, and I'll never forget those trips.
Wow.
The road trips, I love that I can fly places right now, but I will tell you, getting in a car and driving and taking your time and seeing this great country is amazing to me. And I'll never forget that. We did that several times, almost every year for many years.
Yeah, I think that's people kind of miss it out on that today. It's so much about the destination. We want to get there quick, so we jump on an airplane and we go, and people just don't realize what's out there, particularly if you get off the interstate system and my favorite road is still U.S. Route 50, which still runs across the country. And,
yes.
I don't say my favorite part's in Kansas, but, everybody ought to do that at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one trip that stands out in your mind that was just epic?
I think when, so my older two brother and sister, they had jobs and they were not going on trips. And I think it actually might have been the older three. And then me and my brothers and sisters, me and my two brothers, we went out on a trip. And my mom and dad probably felt like it might have been the last 1 or 2 trips before all kids were going somewhere different. And I remember stopping at the Alamo. We took Route 66 out. I can remember stopping at a couple different places that we still have pictures of it. Places that I would never have guessed. A lot of places that might have had some reservations, things like that, and I think it might have hit LA, and then we drove up to San Francisco, and then we drove back home, and I don't remember the route we took back home, but it just reminded me, and because I knew we were probably coming to the end of our road trips, it just reminded me how precious it is, number one, to spend that time with my family and to just drink in the fact that my dad took time, to get in a van and drive. And my mom, would map out destinations and would point out things for us because they were not big highway drivers. I mean, they did this so that we could see a lot of different things along the way. And sometimes we'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Are we there yet?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And other times we were super excited to see things. And thank goodness I took lots of pictures and movies. And, we still have that. We still have those memories today.
Oh, that's very cool. Today, kids got their iPads in the back seats. They got their headphones on and no conversation going on. And I remember when our kids were growing up, it was I Spy with my little eye, or I remember counting license plates from different states, who could spot us license plate from a particular state, and games like that.
Yeah, those are great games, and I still will see my grandkids kind of play those things. But yeah, you're right. We got our heads buried in so many things, we're not noticing the great things around us.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll move away from cars and road trips, and I'm anxious to hear about the Ken Blanchard time you spent with leadership and how you got into doing leadership and how that took you into writing books. So spend some time just talking about your professional life.
You talk about a journey and a trip and a road trip. It's been quite a journey when I look back at it. But I went to college for radiology and was a nuclear medicine tech for just a couple years. And I got into selling medical equipment, which was no easy thing to do. I was the only female for a couple of years. And it was very, very competitive. But I knew nuclear medicine, and that was something I had over my competitors. And it was really obvious to a lot of clients. I did that for about 20 years, and I moved into several positions with that: national accounts manager, all sorts of things, vice president. In the year 1999, I think I read a book called Leadership by the Book by Ken Blanchard. And I feel like it took me through this tunnel, fast forward tunnel of this is what you need. This is what the city needs. This is what the country, I mean, just on and on and on. And I pursued that man and that company like crazy. They're located in Escondido, California. And they said, we don't have any positions in Cincinnati. And I was like, perfect. That's exactly why you need me to.
You should have one, right?
Right. And I said, I know everybody in this city. Blah, blah, blah. So they finally, about 2 years, I think they finally just said, gee, just give the girl a job.
Yeah.
So
she's not going to stop calling or writing us. So give her a job.
Exactly. And it was amazing. It was a total switch for me from the dog eat dog medical sales to leadership, really taking time to learn and understand culture and empathy. And Ken still today talks about bringing the heart to the business world, which was not something that people thought could ever happen. And so I went to work with him and just in working with him. And you know what? He just called me yesterday to just talk and check in and see how I'm doing. That is the kind of man I wanted to go to work for. And that's who he is. And he still is today. And it amazes me. So thanks to his friendship, he's the guy who encouraged me to start writing. And because of some things I had written. And so he and I wrote some articles together. And then I started going into leadership consulting. And that's where I met Ford and started doing a lot of different consulting gigs. But then I adopted a dog in 2013, Louie.
Okay.
And I started telling people stories about Louie. And my trainer, I had to get a trainer because Louie was a piece of work. He almost went back to the adoption place I got him from because he was a piece of work. And my trainer said, you may learn a thing or two about leadership from this dog. And by golly, that was true.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. I had to make a choice to keep him. I had to make a choice to love him regardless of his behavior. And it was transforming. So when I would share with clients different stories about him and we'd laugh about a lesson here and there, they encouraged me to start writing and wrote a leadership book, a middle grade book, and now we have children's books. And it has been quite a journey and I'm loving it.
Yeah. You go into schools, is that correct?
We do. And so we started, I started the typical book release journey kind of thing. And then I started seeing what a difference it makes when I take Louie into schools and we talk to kids, we read the books, they see him, they get to pet him, they talk to him. I read about, whatever book I bring in, kindness, patience, and then we send them home. We send kids home with a book. And so that's why I started our Unleash Love nonprofit, is so that we could start, donating books to school. Send the books home with kids. We send home a discussion guide for parents so that they can engage in conversations with their kids about kindness. And there's a little, if I could take a minute, there's a little magical kind of thing that happens here. The kindness book is based on a lesson I learned from Oswald Chambers in his book, My Utmost for His Highest, where he says there is always something unknown in other people's lives. I put that in there in that little lesson throughout the story. Because of it, it makes an impact. It's not just telling kids to be nice. It's helping them to understand there might be something going on in somebody else's life we don't know anything about. And so I love that. And the patient's book is about just doing the next thing. Just do the next thing. Don't try to do a million things at once, which we all try to do.
Yeah, maybe we should have everybody reading these
right.
children's books, right? Seems
exactly.
like there's a little lack of kindness sometimes in the world. So,
my goodness, yes, there is.
Now, do you reach outside of? I know the book could be bought. Do you focus on schools primarily in Cincinnati, or do you go other places?
Yeah, mostly in Cincinnati. However, there's been a few people who have said, could I go into schools and do this and read? And I'm like, are you kidding? Absolutely. And I want to be careful telling people to take a dog into schools because Louie's been very specifically trained for that. But I was talking to a group who trains dogs, and they're like, you could have people who have these therapy dogs or trained dogs to go in. You don't need them to engage with the kids if that's, if you just want to be careful. But anybody could take these books into schools and read to the children and ask them questions and engage with them and send the kids home. Anybody. That would be amazing.
That's great. Well, we'll hope that love spreads throughout the country then, right?
Yes, absolutely. We need it. We need it right now.
So here's a question for you. If you could take a road trip with anyone, we'll go back to road trips now.
Yep.
But if you could take a road trip with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be? Where would you go? What would you drive? Maybe that Fiat. I don't know. You get it back. But tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Let me start with the end. I would love at some point in time to sit in a pub with C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien and discuss stories and how they came up with all this imaginative stuff that they do. If I could back up then, I could imagine me in a little English town and C.S. Lewis and I hop in one of those old cars, I don't know that necessarily needs to be cranked, right? But an old car and driving down the country roads of, England somewhere and hitting a little stone pub and going in and having a great chat with J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. I would have thought I died and went to heaven.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
That'd be great. What do you think?
Yeah.
One question. What do you think one question you would ask?
One question.
Yeah, not to put you on the spot.
No, but it's like, I think I would say, where did it all begin? Like, what was that one spark that all of a sudden, and it probably was several, what was that one spark that made you think of Narnia?
Yeah.
Or Aslan. What was that one spark? And then what was the journey after that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been places, you've seen things. What's on your bucket list? Something on your bucket list yet that you want to knock off?
Yeah. There's a part of me, like we're going to Italy next year and my family's been back. I've been in Italy several times. And so I would love for my family, my brothers and sisters, to have a place in Italy that we talk about all of us living together on some land, as we age. And that's becoming more as we, we're aged now.
Well, we talked about you and I've known each other 20 years and I would have been in my 40s. I'm not asking you, but I know better.
I would have been on kind of the back end of those years. So
well, it's weird. My daughter Lauren, and I know when I turned 50, she goes, "Well, Dad, look at it this way. It's only 50% over." Now I'm 62, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, where did that 12% go?"
Oh my gosh, yes. So I think I'd love for my family and I'm not sure about traveling places, but Italy, having a place my family can go, live, be together, eat food, share funny stories. I mean, we have a million funny stories that we share. And I know I'm blessed. And we're, in your audience, there are plenty of people who don't have that. So I never take that for granted. I'd love to do that as we age. So
wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Give us, you got a room full of people, maybe adults, maybe kids. We'll stick with adults. You've done a lot of leadership work. Give us some advice on living our best life and really pouring out that love to others. Give us a little leadership teaching here, because we got time.
Yeah. So one of the things that I love teaching about is the Louie leadership model, which is really understanding loving others, understanding you have to have objectives and goals, in order for people to really do the next thing. You have to take time to understand people. We're not cookie cutter people. Everybody is different. So take the time to understand. Take the time to invest in people, whether you're mentoring people or coaching or just sitting across the table from friends. Invest your time in them. And then, and only then, can you truly empower people to move forward to do what God's created them to do. And when you look at that, when you look at love, objectives, and goals, understanding others, investing in others, and empowering, and it is spelled Louie. And it's a model that I share with people, but the number one thing is love, loving other people. And for as long as I have been in the business world, Dan, I have to tell you, love. In fact, cool story. I'm getting ready to sign a contract with a client, and the CEO sits across the table from me and folds his arms, and he's like, "Yeah, I hope you have a good attorney." And that's not something you want to hear from somebody.
Right, when you're signing the contract.
Right. I'm like, am I like in the wrong meeting? I mean, what? And he's like, I mean, for somebody who says, that love is the basis of your leadership, I hope you have a good attorney. And I said, well, tell me what you think love is. He goes, well, you know what love is. And I said, well, that's why people have the wrong impression of what love is. They immediately go to a place of inappropriate behavior. And I'm like, that's not it. Love is being patient. Love is being kind. It is not boastful. It is not prideful. It doesn't envy. It always hopes, always trusts. It always perseveres. It never gives up. That's what love is. It's those characteristics. If we take those into our world as leaders, we will be life changers. And I think that is absolute number one. And just, if we could just do that, do the next thing to show people love, it will be an amazing, life-changing experience. So that's my nugget of wisdom.
Wow, that's a great nugget, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, our virtual road trip's coming to an end here, but I love to give my guests the opportunity to promote their business, in your case, a book, a charity, whatever it is you want people to know about. And I'll include these in the note.
Okay.
Hopefully people will pick up a book for their grandchild or for their own child and read that book.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. Our nonprofit is called Unleash Love, and our website is unleash-love.com. And they can go in there, they can read about what we do, which is we're really existing here to help eradicate bullying from the classroom to the boardroom. On that website, they can read about that. They can purchase the books. They can donate what we call a classroom bundle, which allows us to go into classrooms and give away books and take a time to read, visit with Louie, that sort of thing. That helps us. If they go on our website, everything goes back into our 501c3, allows us to go ahead and donate to schools and donate books. Our books are also on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. They look up Louie's Little Legs. They'll see that. I don't think on Amazon our image is up yet for The Power of Hope, but we have 3 children's books. They can buy them on our website. They can buy them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Any online retailer will provide those books.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And you're still doing business leadership training too. You just mentioned
I
that.
am.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I am. And we do business leadership training and coaching. It's big. The 501c3 has become so busy. It's crazy. And I also do ghostwriting for people, which I enjoy because I want people to share their business. They share their hearts, share their stories. And some people just don't have the gift of writing. So if that's a gift that I have, I can share with people. Great. So I'm a little busy for a grandma.
Yeah, you are very busy, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I don't think retirement's
No.
mentioned anywhere in that Bible that we follow.
No.
So, Danise, I've so enjoyed catching up. It's been too long, and so this has just been fun. And I really thank you for coming on this show.
Dan, it's been fun catching up with you too, and I'm so honored you would ask me to do this. So thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dan the Road Trip Guy, and we look forward to having you back again next time. In the meantime, if you want to find me, you can find me on the internet at Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, Neal, Neal.com. Until we meet up again, keep having conversations and keep driving.